Okay, folks, here we go. Chapter 1. First of all, this is the Dave Angle Show. And this is all about Chapter 1 in the series of 10 about getting married at 22. And then all the family members, they go crazy and lose their minds and think I'm nuts. That's what I'm going to take off my glasses. That's what we're going to talk about today. Chapter 1. 3 dates, 1 proposal. Stop for a second. I know right there and then you're probably agreeing with my parents and my girlfriend's parents right this second. You are probably saying, Dave turned 21 or is 21. He works in a factory and he just said he's getting married. 3 dates. He's nuts. We think he needs to be committed. We think he may have lost his mind. We think we need counseling and we should call the priest immediately. Contact the church, call the priest. Now, I come from an Italian family, and so the number 1 rule, if something goes wrong, we got to call the priest. We have to. This guy's nuts. My son is nuts. He lost his mind. We don't even hear the words of, I'm 21 and I'm announcing that I'm going to get married. We don't even hear those words. Like it's echoing in some, kind of room, large room, and the words are echoing around, and we think he's nuts. Now, we take the story a little bit further because we need to start where it all started. How did this happen? Where did it begin? And what is the real story? What is chapter 1? Chapter 1 is all about the 3 dates and then proposing. And no one does that. There's no one I've ever met in my entire life, and I'm now 71. There's no one I know in my entire life that ever told me this story or even close to it. So I hope you have a moment where you can watch the video, participate, put in your input, make comments, share your stories, and bring your world to us. Because this is real stories and real storytelling, and these moments in time actually happened. And so, what happened? Where do we begin? The setting is Rocky River, Ohio. That's the city. The setting is in a country club in Rocky River, Ohio. A beautiful, wonderful, fantastic country club. Inside the club, they have this special studio, and members are allowed into the club and could go into the studio. And they have dancing and they have music and they have wonderful people, and it's just fantastic in this country club. And I was not a member, by the way. So I was 21. I was a very shy kind of person and very private. There's something that people don't know about me. They think I'm on camera, all the time. I'm not on camera 24 hours a day, by the way, folks. But they think I'm on camera all the time, and I'm live in front of audiences, and I'm live in front of people all the time. And so I'm like an open book and an open person that just can do this stuff but I'm technically a really private person. And at 21, I was shy and private. But I had a body of friends. And they were all good people, and they were all great friends. And we were all about the same age. Anyways, my friend, who had a house behind us, and I was real close to him, said, I'm going to this club. I've been invited. I'm going to this club. I've got access to the club. You need to come with me. And I said, I don't know. Music, dancing, I don't know. I'm not sure about this. Anyways, he convinced me to go. It's probably around 8 or 9 p.m. at night. And so we go to the club. It's a fantastic club in Rocky River, Ohio. So I think the club was called Silver Lady. So I think that's what the name of it was. I'm trying to recall now. This is a lot of years ago. This happened in the 70s. And I get to the club. We order a small drink, I think a beer or something, just a Miller Lite or whatever it was, some beer. And we're having a drink, and we're just talking, and we're talking. And he says his girlfriend was there. So his girlfriend comes over and says hi and everything. That was nice. We're having a beer, we're talking, and his girlfriend shows up. And he says, don't get nervous. I want to introduce you to somebody. And I said, what are you doing? What? Whoa, time out. I'm out of here. I'm going to leave the club. Not going to happen. I got to go. This is not my world. I'm not some famous dancer. So I don't know how the hell this is going to work. I was very gracious. I was very kind. I was brought up the right way. I always treated people with grace and respect. And so he said, no, wait, Dave, you gotta stay. Wait. This thing is set up. You have to meet this person. And I said, okay. I was finally open to the idea. And this young lady comes over. I didn't know at the time, but she was 6 months younger than me. She comes over, she sits down. My friend's sister introduces her to me. This is David. He's, a hard worker. He's part of the community. He's a good friend of ours. We'd like to introduce you to David. And David, and my wife's name was Stephanie. And she made sure I understood how it was spelled. This is a real critical piece of my life. The spelling of her name. It wasn't spelled with Stephan or whatever. It was spelled with Stefanie. Stephanie. So I learned at the beginning how her name was actually spelled. And that is an interesting thing. But anyways, so why not talk a little bit and just maybe have a little fun for that moment in time? Because I'm kind of, private and closed and shy, and, I don't know how far I can make this thing work, but we'll see. Anyways, we started talking, and I realized at a very early moment in time, this person was very real, very honest, and very hardworking. Like super hardworking. I worked in a factory and I had a second job. So I was working 2 jobs, and I thought I was a hard worker. And I was talking to her, and she said, oh, I work 2 jobs. And I'm like, what? And she said, yeah, I work at this place and I work at this place. And yeah, I work pretty hard and I have a hard week and I don't have much time off. But yeah, I have 2 jobs, and I had 2 jobs. And I was intrigued over that logic. And of course, she was extremely pretty. And so I said, wow, okay. So we kept talking. And then I don't think I actually was the first person that said, would you like to get up? The music is playing. Would you like to dance? I'm a shy kind of person. I don't know. I don't know if I could connect the dots, dancing and all this other stuff. Anyways, she finally asked me, this is a great song. Would you like to come up? Would you like to dance? And I think it was some Bee Gees song. So it was some early 70s Bee Gees song. And probably John Travolta probably was in the movie track to that Bee Gees song. Anyways, we got up, we danced, we talked some more, we danced a little bit more, we sat down. I don't remember, honestly, I don't remember if she actually had a drink. I had a beer and I was sipping on my beer a little bit, but not too much. I didn't get too crazy. I didn't have, 5, 6, 7 drinks. But we were talking. And then the night closes out. And she's going back with my friend's sister. And I think I said, I don't know the exact words that were used at this moment in time, right at the end. Would you mind if I contact you and call you to maybe go on an actual date? And she said, I work a lot. I do a lot. I'm very busy. I got a lot of stuff going on. I don't know, but yeah, give it a try. Give it a try. Okay. So the date ended. I go on to my life. She goes back on to her life. And I'm kind of like a person that moves very fast on things. I don't like wait for anything to happen. I make things happen. That's one thing about me. Even at 21, all the way in my life, I work hard to make things happen. And so I think I called her once and it went to phone mail. I don't remember what, because the old technology back then, I probably called on the phone. I don't even know if back in the 70s like that, there were, like crappy cell phones, I think, back then. I don't even remember. I don't think there was a Motorola back then. But there might have been. Might have been a Motorola. Anyways, I called a couple times. No response, no response, no response. And after a week or so, after a week and a half, I said, well, A, I didn't impress her. B, I wasn't the right kind of person. C, she wasn't interested. Maybe I was a terrible dancer. And I couldn't, lock the connection. I thought we had a great time, but maybe I misread the whole thing. Because I'm a private, shy kind of person at 21. So what happened? Well, what happened was I dropped it. I went back to my jobs and I'm working every day and this and that. And I'm not, at the moment, I wasn't dating anybody and I was just working hard, trying to make a few bucks to pay my bills. I had a lot of responsibility. And the good news is this takes a little bit of a turn because, and I don't mean it as a turn in the story, I mean as a side note. It's actually a side note. When I was very young, the best thing that ever happened to me is my parents made sure that I learned every kind of skill there was. I learned how to write. I learned how to cook. I learned how to clean. I learned how to do things. I learned how to fix cars. I learned how to build computers. I learned how to take TVs apart. I learned electronics. I learned a lot of skills. I learned plumbing. I learned construction. This is at a very young age. This is like from 7 years old to like 12. This is massive skills for a young child. that's going to a Catholic school to be surrounded by and actually embrace and be told, this is what you're doing. We're going to be working on construction today. We're going to be working with saws. Eight-year-old person running high-powered saws is maybe not a good thing, but it was good for me because I was able to embrace all this stuff and learn 1,000 things at a very young age. But the problem is, how does that help me with this whole 21 and maybe getting married? How does that help? Well, it just gives you a lot of knowledge and, a lot of skills and talents and everything that you can bring to the table. And so I figured, the date was great, but it didn't go anywhere. I guess we're done. We're done, and we're done. It's done. It's over. It was a great one date, one moment in time. And I don't even consider that a date. It was great one moment in time, but it was kind of like a date because it was set up. It was a setup. Anyways, another week goes by, and all of a sudden, for whatever reason, I get a call. This is Stephanie. Sorry I couldn't contact you before. I'm super busy with my 2 jobs. I got a lot of responsibility. I got a lot of stuff I got to take care of. But if you would like to go out this one day I have, just this one day, if you would like to go out on a Thursday or a Friday, I forget what exact day it was. It was either a Thursday or Friday. If you'd like to go out on this one date, and this is the only time, this is the absolute only time you could actually go with me, would you like to go? And you have to stop in this moment in time. You have to. Because here's me, this shy guy, very private, thinking already I cashed in, meaning I already said it. It's done. It's over. There is no more. It was a nice one date. It was one moment in time, and that was the end. And then I have this girl on the phone that says, would you like to go out? I'm like, okay. What would you like to do? Because I'll set it up. If we were going out to a concert, if we were going to go out for dinner, if we were going to go out to a drive-in, if we were, whatever it was in those moments in time in the 70s, whatever it was, I would set it up. And we weren't rich. We didn't have tons of money. We were poor. We worked hard. We used our money to pay stuff, to pay for gas and food and this and that. I had a place to live because I lived with my parents. What I didn't know, which will come in a later chapter, there were some things I didn't know. But because of all her hard work, there were some things I didn't know. But she had her life and hard work. And so I said, yes, I'd love to go out. And this is where the story takes a little bit of a turn.
To the David Angle, where fun meets storytelling, catching all the emotions, diving deep into history, pulling out life lessons, and keeping it real. This is the David Angle.
I went on the date. We had a great time. We talked for hours. And I had my car. I was driving, I think at that time I was driving a blue and white Camaro. And the Camaro was gorgeous. And it was a beautiful car. And I picked her up and we went on the date and we had a great time. we turn the page to the piece that's the most interesting. Because I said, after the date, I said, would you mind if I call you and ask you out again? And she was very careful, very cautious. She wasn't the type of person that let you into her world right away. She didn't uncover 8 things about her, 10 things about her, 20 things about her right away. She was very careful and protective and somewhat private, like me, which is interesting. So I knew some things about her. I knew 2 jobs and all this other stuff. She had her own car. And she said, yes, but I just want to let you know once again, I have 2 jobs and I work a lot and all this other stuff. So when you call me, I may have to say I can't go out on Friday, but I could go out on Tuesday. I can't go out on Tuesday, but I could go out on Saturday or Sunday. So just be prepared that I can't just drop everything. Know that the date may have to be carefully orchestrated. And so this is where things change dramatically. This is where the story changes. This is where logic is thrown out. This is where, the power of connection has far more power than you could possibly know. The power of emotional connection, the power of people meeting people and connecting and finding the bridge that you build this fast bridge extremely fast is powerful. And passion and emotion is a driving force in one's life. 21 years old. Picture this, 21 years old, leaving a second date, setting up a third date. 2 dates down, third one's coming up. I call and invite her to an event. She says, that day is not going to work, but if you take me out on Sunday instead of Saturday or Friday, I got to work Friday and Saturday, so I can't do it. If you set this up for a Sunday, I can do it. Well, I'm excited and happy that she accepted the third date. And we both are super hard workers. We both have passions in so many different directions. And we both have responsibilities. And we both come from decent families. And we've both been responsible for our own lives. I was searching for the right word. We knew that nothing was given to us. We both came from a world that nothing was ever given to us. And we start at ground zero. And whatever happens is we have to make it ourselves. And if you're going to have any success in the world, you have to make it happen yourself. That's the world we came from. And so we went on the third date. And that's for some reason, I don't know how the universe works exactly. I'm pretty connected to the universe and I'm pretty connected to energy and frequency. And I know how to use vibration and frequency. And whatever happened, I didn't know this at 21. Whatever happened with the universe, the energy, the frequency, and the alignment, I walked away from the third date and I said, I'm going to marry this person. And that's when the story gets complicated. 21-year-old person from an Italian family with family roots, with family history, with family dynamics, with a powerful, high-level emotional frequency that runs through that family. Not thinking about that might be complicated, I make up my mind that I'm going to propose to my wife. The next time I see her. 3 dates, and then a proposal. Now, my 2 young adults, if they ever listen to this video, they might be semi-shocked. They knew I got young, married young. They knew all the technical history. They knew the logic, but they never heard the story with all these components put together in one place. This is from the David Angle Show, my brand new show, and this is a 10-episode series, and it's going to reveal all the things that happened and how did this all come together. And how did I know? I knew. My instincts were powerful. My decision-making was critical. My emotional track was right. I was triple level mature. At 21, I was extremely mature, like I was 35. I knew what responsibility was. I knew what hard working was. I knew, what you have to do to make things happen. And I just knew. And the next time I saw her, we were having a nice chat and so forth, and I stopped everything and I said, I need to ask you something. And she was like stunned and puzzled. She looked fantastic. Her hair was magnificent. She was dressed in this gorgeous outfit. She looked magnificent. She was in a little bit of a semi-shock. She didn't know what was coming. She didn't know if I was going to ask a simple question, would you like some ice cream, or would you like to go to a drive-in next week? And so I said, this is an important question. I like you. I feel a connection. I feel that we're 2 people that should be together, and I want to propose to you. Would you marry me? Now, right at that moment, I didn't have a ring in my hands because I had no knowledge of rings. And so that takes a little time to figure that out. And that will come in another chapter. And another chapter will be breaking the news. But I think she went into total shock. I think she said, if I remember the way this all went, David, are you serious? Are you sure about this? Are you like, is this like a prank, or is this like, what exactly are you asking me? I got to be like really clear-minded about what you're saying to me right this moment in time, when time stopped. It actually stopped. Everything went silent. Everything, darkness surrounded the scene. And say there's a little tiny light in the center of the scene, and there's darkness all around you and pure silence. And she was thinking about it, and I said, no, this is, I'm dead serious, dead serious. Not like a joke, not like pretending, not like I'm thinking about it, not like I think I should do this, nothing. I'm dead serious. I'm going to ask you again, will you marry me? And a pause. And it's not like I expected a pause to come. It was just more like, I got to be sure that Dave's not joking around here. This is like serious business. This is no joke for a 21-year-old. This is no like crazy stuff here. This is real life. This is real adventure. This is real excitement. This is real emotion. This is real connection. And she said yes, which probably put me in shock. Because you only, in my mind, I came from a Catholic upbringing. I came from a Catholic church. I came from, in my mind, at that age, you get married once, that's it, for life. You're married for life. I don't care what anybody else thinks. I don't care what you were brought up on. I don't care about the young generation that's brought up today that, we just connect sometimes and we don't, and we float around and we date for 100 years and all that other stuff. Back then, that world didn't exist. And it's not something I know. And she said yes. And if you just put a box around that word yes, and if you just closed in that darkness into the center light and had a film camera and cinematically created that moment in time, it'd be one of the most precious moments ever filmed on camera. And I was excited. I was charged. I was energized. I was like totally connected. And I said, great. And, we can then go to the next step. And that's where this chapter ends. And the next chapter, chapter 2, starts with breaking the news. So stay tuned, because this is all about real life stories and real actual events that actually happened, and everything that surrounds families. And I have not even touched on her side of the family yet, and we're going to get into that. So this is the David Angle Show, and these are real stories and real emotions and real connections and real words.